Welcome to Believe in People Unplugged, created in collaboration with and in support of the Matthew Perry House. Hosted by Amy Goldberg and Caitlin Morrison, this is a space for real conversations with musicians and artists, exploring who they are beyond the work, what fuels their creativity, and why music plays such an important role in their well-being.
Welcome to Believe in People Unplugged in collaboration with the Matthew Perry House, hosted by me, Amy Goldberg, and Caitlin Morrison. Today's guest is drummer Frank Zummo. He is not only a drummer, he's also a producer, creative force, best known for his work with Sum 41, with a career built on passion, discipline, and relentless energy. Frank also has just released a new book called Unbreakable Rhythm, My Journey Through Music, Wellness, and Mental Strength, which we're going to talk to him about. We're looking forward to it. But Frank, welcome to Believe in People Unplugged, which means we can say anything we want. You know how I first met Frank via sort of not met, but met, is Cone was sharing your book, your new book. Awesome. And I thought that was so cool. And I wanted to, it's called Unbreakable Rhythm, My Journey Through Music, Wellness, and Mental Strength. And wow, what a great place to start, because we're in collaboration with the Matthew Perry House and your brother, Caitlin. So let's start there.
You're an expert. You should just talk the whole rest of the time, and we'll just sit here and
Frank, go ahead.
Go, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, go.
I mean, I watched Cone's episode with y'all. It was great to see, Cone on there. It's something that just organically happened. This book, it was just a vision board thing. And I've been doing for many years now workshops with the youth, where I've done them all over the world. And it's just this magical, safe place that has just organically happened where, when I was coming up, drum clinics were all I had. And it was just all about that instrument, talking about that instrument, sign an autograph, and that was it. When I got put in the position to do something like this, I wanted to completely change it and make it in really cool places that kids would want to be. And then have those students be involved as well to perform. So basically what it's grown into now is I partner with the School of Rocks all over the world, and we'll go to one market, or I used to tour it, and we include as many of the local area schools, and the kids get to perform, and then they perform with me. Well, we'll play Sum 41 songs, Electric Callboy songs, cover songs, which is so cool because the kids, they get to perform with the artist. So it's just a really cool feeling to watch them. We have multiple drum sets on stage, so I'm playing with drummers as well. And then we have, an open conversation where I just hand the mic over to the crowd. Whatever you want to ask me. Obviously, when I'm on tour, we don't get this one-on-one experience. So what do you guys want to talk about? And the thing that kept happening was kids started talking about mental health, about wellness, being bullied at school, on social media. And we just had these amazing, beautiful conversations. And I would always leave there being like, wow, this is really powerful and this is working. Like, I've had parents pull me aside, like heavy stuff. Like, my son was so dark and depressed and even suicidal. I mean, these are kids, middle school, high school, elementary. And because of what you said, or the magic of you performing with my kids, like, my kid is back, and like crazy stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'm only doing a couple of these a year. This is a big world. Like, how can I get this message even, to a wider, accessible audience? And basically, I had a dear friend of mine who's a music journalist who had written about me throughout the years. And when I started talking about the idea of a book, I invited him to one of these workshops, and he experienced the magic firsthand. We went in the dressing room after the show, and he just hit record. And that is the introduction of the book. And we kept it very interview style and touched on all these different aspects of life, because it's just kind of become like the conversations I've had, all this stuff. And as this has grown, we've brought in teen suicide prevention charities that we've brought into these events to have resources for kids. We've played games to talk about these hard things with these organizations, to just break the ice with the kids and make hard subjects more, easy to talk about. And I love that mental health and wellness is now not this taboo thing that people are shamed about. It's more talked about on a daily, and therapy and all this great stuff. So I wanted to pack as much of these stories, and then also list a lot of these resources in the book, and then include all these great people who have been in my life, from Derek from Sum 41 to the athletes that I've trained with and learned wellness by, checking all these boxes, all the resources, in this like action-packed, book, which is just, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It came right when Sum 41 was ending, when everything kind of came together. It's been out since November, and now I'm out, doing a book tour, which are my workshop events. It's not me sitting at a bookstore signing books. It's like these events with the community and kids and all these different people. And it's been so incredible to, have this now that is available. And yeah, that's kind of just the
That's
long
cool.
story of how I got to kind of where I am with this book.
That's
That's amazing. That's amazing.
that is
I
amazing.
I what's my question? So you've done like you've had an extraordinary ride in like the musical world. I think anybody who's growing up and playing an instrument, going, I want to make it big someday. Like that's you're living their dream. Do you feel like does it feel different between the I guess the pump of wow, I have an awesome life that you would get from something like that, and then the way that you feel when somebody says something like, my kid was on the brink of something horrible, but by talking to you, they sort of started to get through it, like they're back.
That is like the ultimate, like how my gift of, you know, being an artist and all that, that is like the ultimate of that, because it gets to put me in a position where I can go do these events. And that's the whole goal of the book, and my events are to motivate, inspire, save lives. And that's like, I feel like it's been my calling because it's just so naturally happened. Like, even like, I don't sit there and start bringing these topics up. And sometimes, like, I'll do an event and the first 30 minutes go by and it's just about music and about kids are talking about the music industry and stuff. And then one question opens that door, and then parents start asking, teachers start asking. And that's like, I've just felt like, hey, this is what I want to use my spotlight for. This is, I feel like it's my calling. And it is, yes, it's the most amazing feeling to get out on stage and play these shows on a personal level. Like, I did it. Like, I'm on, and that's what I try to let these kids know. Like, I'm no different than you. I just had a vision, a path, just like your brother. He wanted to be an actor and be the best actor, and he didn't stop until it happened and continued after. Like some would say, like, oh, like Friends was my Sum 41. It ended like, all right, you're done. You did it all.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, this only inspired me more. I've worked my whole life to get here. I'm going to continue. So it's like just continuing, staying on that path and letting kids, like, just having that real talk about, like, if you want to be a doctor, a dentist, or whatever you want to do, just do it. And I'm here to prove to you I'm no different. Like, kids just think when they see you on TV or they, hear you on the radio, like we're these superheroes, whatever. It's like, we're not. We're just stayed on our path and made it happen. So yeah, it's all powerful and so emotional in so many ways. And it's been so beautiful to, but it's also heavy. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
these events, I've just got so much unloaded on me, and it's like,
It's a big
that's,
responsibility.
it is in the best way. But then also I've recognized, like, okay, learning from this and learning from so many friends who passed away, suicide, all these things. These were just like wake up calls to learn and grow and seek therapy and work on myself. So, I never felt like my plate's too full, that these were thoughts and these were things. I've just taken from all these walks of life. Like what can I learn from it, and what can I do as a human to grow? And obviously it's, times are hard, and things happen. But it's like it's just been part of the journey and story.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Frank, who helped you growing up? Well, two parts. Who helped you? Because first of all, A, you're a musician, and it's like, your world is, very precarious. Like it's just, all so up and down. And then what led you, or maybe the first question is, what led you to being a musician? And then like who helped you?
I mean, I think my family was very open. We were very, we communicated. We would, I never felt afraid to, my mom, my grandparents, to, literally, when I was in high school and got arrested for graffiti, one stupid mistake, one night, whatever, like,
Oh,
I wasn't afraid to tell my mom. Like, I took my mom aside, I told her what happened, like it was, and that's what I try now being a father. I try to have that same relationship with my children because, we had just a very open family with that stuff, Um, and then I think, with the music stuff, like I was born into a very theatrical and musical family. My family, there's a lot of opera singers, rock singers. My mom and dad were in a band together. My grandfather had his own theater. So I grew up in the theater world. I was a, stage manager. I acted. I took acting classes. Like I've really, so the support was always there from my family because that was our life, and um, I found the drums at 2 years old.
wow.
My dad had them set up in the apartment that I was living at. They said I walked away and started playing, and I still have those drums. That's the blue drums behind me on the shelf. Those are my dad's, drums, which I still have. Obviously, I don't remember that, but my first thing that one of my top three memories of my young life was when I was 5. My parents took me to my first concert, and that was when I knew I made a pact. Like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It was that powerful. Seeing a big rock show in an arena and feeling that energy. And like, I knew right there and then this is what I was going to do. And I've just been on that path ever since.
What band was it?
Ozzy and Motley Crue. How cool is that at 5 years old?
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then like you want to talk about like that was the two bands that I grew up idolizing, that I played those records front to back. And then later in life, it was the kind of the thing that, really put me on the map in a big way in LA when I was like coming up and all that. Um, I got to be friends with Motley Crue, and then Tommy Lee had an injury, and I got called emergency to come in and fill in for him for 2 weeks and be in the band. So I got to be in the band that inspired me, and my father got to come and watch me play in that band.
Wow.
And Tommy told that audience to the crowd, which was so special. I only hope I can have something like that with my children one day. Like, talk about the most craziest full circle special moment. And that's like, again, things are made, it's, I don't know. It's just as crazy as it is. It's like, it was meant to be because I was on my path. I put it in the universe. I stayed true to that. And like, again, going back to the telling this to the kids, and like it is that easy if you stay persistent and all that with your journey and your mission. Um, and then obviously later in life, I there was like wellness coaches and people that came into my life that were also therapists. And then I started exploring that because it was somebody that I felt really comfortable with because I was just always in my mind, it was like, oh, if you go to therapy, you're on a couch with a shrink, and that just never felt right with me. But then when I found someone that I felt super comfortable, that was already like a coach for me with breath work, and that was another thing. Like I discovered breath work. The big wave surfer Laird Hamilton. I met him and his wife, like right when I got in Sum 41, and it came at the most perfect time because I needed just that whole wellness, getting into a band that was physically demanding, the touring that we were going to be doing. I'd just become a father. Like there was a lot on my plate, and they really helped me so much. And they taught me breath work, which is what we do to survive, but I never knew about using it to go to bed, to, down regulate, to get amped before a show instead of drinking coffee, like all of this stuff. And that was just a game changer, like using it for meditation, like learning all of these different protocols and things that, I can pull out when I need those things has just been such a great, that's the stuff I geek on. Like those are my hobbies now, wellness, training, supplements. Like I've been doing a crazy, deep dive with my doctor on like the longevity game right now. Like we just did crazy blood tests to just see how my organs are aging and like all this geeky, awesome stuff. And then you like kind of tweak from there. So that's been really fun. Just like, I want to do this forever. This is it's like being retired. I get to play drums and entertain people. It's so fun, travel the world and all that, But like now that I'm a father, I want to be around as, as long as I can to see my kids have kids and all that stuff. So it's been fun to, get on that longevity, kind of thing, and just learning new ways to just kind of navigate and grow and all that. So yeah, I think it's been a long life lesson, and just staying on this path.
Like you talk about the story of the first concert and then getting to play. I mean, friggin' magic. I often find that when I meet somebody and I hear about their life and I think, well, that's just like magic, what happened in your life. That there's usually a side of what you're talking about where you found a way into kind of a, living a life that's, you know, honed in on like a practiced feeling of just being okay in your skin and like an understanding that all you have to do is stick to the vision
Right.
of what you're going for, and it works. And I mean it's amazing how that always seems to work for people. I do have a question though, it's totally unrelated, but I wanted to say that really philosophical thing I just said. Um, the, the
It
question
was
is,
Caitlin.
right? I'm
So
so
yeah,
deep. It
seriously,
was so
I wrote that down. As a matter of fact.
it was just a chasm of thinking. Um, but when I look at I love that people talk more about mental wellness now and they talk about mental health and they talk about all that stuff. But the things that I see, like the world that we're living in, the things that kids are growing up with, even with all of that more talking about it and more openness about, you can share what you're going through. I personally don't know if I could handle being a kid in this world. Do you find that you're, through your workshops and things, identifying some stuff that kids are dealing with that those of us who, are oldish wouldn't really understand?
Yeah, it's, when I was coming up, the only way to, deal with stuff was face to face. It was if you were getting bullied, it was to your face. And then, in that instant, either you're going to have a debate, you're going to get into an altercation, you're going to run away, and you had to deal with it face to face. So if you were going to go bully somebody, you had to deal with, okay, what's going to come at me right now? Now these kids may get bullied at school. Then they come home and they're getting bullied on social media where everybody is a tough guy on their device because they don't have to deal with the actual, you know, face to face of it. So it's hard. And like, especially, these musicians, kids that I'm dealing with, they'll put up them playing their instrument or a cover song, whatever it is. And then, they'll get so much hate, and I have to just explain to the kids, like, if you put something up, just do it for you. If you think this represents you, you're passionate, you love it, that's all that matters. Do not do it for the likes, because then people just see that it's not authentic. And also, you cannot look into the comments and let that get you dark. It's like we all deal with it, me including. It's like And you can't let that stuff get to you. And it's funny because I did an experiment. I don't ever play into negative comments or just give anybody my time because it's just not worth it. It's not worth my bandwidth, my time or energy. But I was doing when the book came out, I was doing a big event and something came out that I did. And of course, people don't fully watch things before they judge it and they're commenting, you know?
Mhm.
And something came out and they didn't even understand what it was and immediately jumped to the wrong conclusion with, saying something negative, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do an experiment right here because I'm gonna use this to tell the kids tomorrow. So I commented back and I said, hey, before you comment, you should probably watch this to understand what it is before you're jumping to conclusions and saying negative stuff and making this a negative thing. I was nice, I wasn't disrespectful. Just like I thought. The second I said that, that person was, oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean anything. And it's like, exactly. It's like I challenged somebody because they didn't do the work. And then because I commented back, all of a sudden they're, backing off and apologizing. It's like, see, it's just don't get involved in that. Don't let that ruin your day. It's just, it's unnecessary. Use social media for the good, what we're talking about here, spreading a word on your organization about positivity, like all that stuff. And you just can't go dark into the rabbit hole. So that's the kind of thing that I just really try to like let the kids know because that's rough. That's really, really rough. There's so much noise, there's so many distractions, and it's like it's so bad for you because when do you get away from it? I mean, we've all become victim to just like life ruling devices where it's just like, there's just so much, you wake up and right away you're getting right and left with, all this negative stuff and whatever. And it's just like, you know, it's just about balance, finding time to step away from that, finding, you time, decompressing. Um, so that's just like a thing that we talk about because the kids will bring it up too, and it's like it's a thing now. And I'm like I'm so grateful that I didn't have to, grow up with that stuff. I didn't have anything. I think when I was in high school, I had a pager. That was it. And I had a cell phone for emergencies because I was traveling in a working band and my parents, because I was young, God forbid, my car broke down or something happened. I had the bat phone that just stayed in the glove box, was never used, but that was it. I didn't have like this constant, I would go lock myself in the basement and just play drums, and it's like I think also on the other side, it's great for me to be telling the kids like, you see the stereotype of musicians and you think it's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's really not anymore. Like watching last night your guys' conversation with Cone, like I wasn't in the band when they came up in the wild times
I
and
was
all
going to
that.
ask you that.
I've
I was
heard all
going
the stories, and I had success later in life. So it was different for me, and when I got in Sum 41, it was a different band. Derek was sober, I literally cut drinking out from touring, and that was it for me. I'm on tour, I'm healthy, that's it. My job's hard enough. Sleeping on a moving bus, different hotels was hard enough. Like, it was a different thing, which was great, and it was cool. I started bringing in different things that I do, just being me. And I've got an ice bath after the show backstage, and then seeing certain members, hey, can I jump in? Or what's that? Like it organically, like, and now in my new band, same thing. They're all asking, hey, how do you do that? Or we're working out together, and they're bringing different things now. And it's like cool to just see that. Like so that's been cool to explain to kids, like, this isn't what it is now. Like if you literally look at my text thread with so many drummers and musicians, it's about like, hey, what ice bath are you using on tour? Or what's your workout routine? It's like it's so cool that
what
it's
clean
it's
foods you eating? It's like, yeah.
exactly it's changing, and um, it's cool to tell the kids like that's being a rock star, being healthy, putting good food in your body, working out. Like we're athletes. We're totally athletes,
Yeah, you are.
the music we're playing, what we're doing on stage. And I think that's been like the aha moment with kids and parents. Like, oh, whoa, like, it's so different now in the best way. And like hearing even from my friends that are in, the alcohol business, it's like all those sales are down now. The new generation is like not partying, and they're coming out with, most of the companies are having to come out with like non-alcoholic, versions of their stuff now because everyone's being healthier. And I love that trend. Like that's a great thing
Yeah,
to
it is. Hey,
hear.
Frank, how did that? So where was the mind switch for you? Like, were you always okay? So very fortunate to grow up with a really communicative family, amazing. And so did you have to switch it to, healthy eating, mindfulness, all of that later in your life, or did you always have it? Like, when did that switch for you, or if it maybe didn't?
I mean, luckily we grew up eating very well and all of that stuff. But I think when I hit 30, I was just like, I I enjoy working out and all that, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know if I'm hurting myself. I don't know what to do. So I got a trainer, and that changed my life. And then it was just like, I got super into that, and then just started, meeting all these other different people and learning about the different supplements because of the abuse my body takes from what I do. Learning about recovery. And it's just like, from 30 to now, it's just been this constant evolution of that. Um, which I love. But yeah, it's always been, I think, you know, that way, which has been so great to, have that. But the thing was back in the day, I would always with the bands, we'd have a pre-show shot to take the edge off, and then maybe there'd be a drink on stage and maybe a little bit after. I never thankfully had any, you know, issues with any of that stuff. It's just the music and my career. That's what I'm addicted to. It wasn't any other, substances, thankfully. Um, but like I noticed like this is becoming part of the routine, and I don't even want this. So I, like, young enough, was like, okay, I don't need this. This is now just a habit. I need to remove this. And I remember playing my first show in Japan without having the pre-show drink. And it was rocket fuel. I felt like I drank a gallon of cold brew or something. And I was like, why have I been masking this? This is amazing. This feels so good. Why have I been taking that edge off? Like, I want this edge. And I never went back again. It was just like that easy for me. It's just the switch was like done. And, I'm very fortunate that, that happened. My dad was an addict, and it it killed him, and I just learned from watching, like, okay, don't become that. Learn how to deal with issues and get help and all of this stuff. Like, it was more eye awakening to learn from such a horrific thing than sitting there and repeating the same thing. And it's like, again, being a father put things on a whole nother level for me. And I don't know, it's just it's a fun journey with the wellness and all that stuff.
It's cool.
I've very, very similar, because having all that kind of stuff around you, I think it makes you more keenly aware of, uh, you know, even even tiptoeing in that direction is something that, you'll sort of have an awareness of, oh God, I don't want to go down that road. And so you sort of check yourself, I think, more than somebody who hasn't lived with that in their life does. But but my experience is very similar to yours, and that is making a choice to cut that stuff out before it was like, just noticing it's maybe a little bit habitual. Let's cut it out. And that zap of, oh my God, the clarity is so good. Like, why would I ever choose not to want to be totally cognizant all the time? And so, for a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is more about that early stuff. It's learning to recognize things in yourself that allow you to have that moment where the decision to go a different direction, the decision to find wellness ends up being so much better so quickly that
Right.
it's like, an eye-opening thing. But it sounds like, and this is the really cool part to me, it sounds like as you demonstrated that in your own, the way that you performed and the way that you decided to, to be, to really emphasize wellness in your work, that you end up creating momentum around you for people to do the same thing. Um, do you see that as something that works anywhere? Do you have you heard from people who will say, I started to chase wellness and then it was practically contagious. People gravitated to that and it created change around.
Absolutely. I think anybody that, opens that portal, um, is just hooked, and you feel good, and we all want to feel good. It's a natural high. It's a natural dopamine. Like if I don't do it, it's like I crave it, which is a good thing, like every day I start my day, I get in the ice bath and sauna, do my workout, do my drumming. This is when I'm off the road. And then when I'm on the road, it's like, I've got my tour routine. And it's great to just know what works, but then also to now perfect that and change things and just, navigate through that. It's so fun. It really is. To be able to learn and constantly work on this stuff, in any way I can. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's just been a great thing. And it's what the cool thing is, seeing like, my kids, they jump in the sauna, the ice bath, it's awesome. Like I didn't learn this stuff till way later in life. And the fact that they're already, and I don't tell them to get in and do it. They just see me doing it and they want to, partake, which is so cool that they're learning, and like I love that the things that I'm teaching them now and sharing with them, I didn't know till so much later in life, so it's like to share that with them now, and they know what's junk and what's healthy and like all of that stuff. It's really cool to see that. Um, you know the way they're learning that at such an early age, like it's so fun. Like I remember the finals, Sum 41 shows, like literally I get off stage, jump in my ice bath, and then next thing I know my kids are in their underwear, they're jumping in backstage like without even thinking about it. It's like it's so cool to see that they're into that as well, and they've been exposed to this stuff that I wasn't exposed to till way later in life.
That's pretty cool. And I know we're coming to an end, but I just want to say, Frank, it's so motivating and refreshing because usually the draw to being in a band and the draw for kids to coming up because they see what they like and they're jived by it, but also you're adding another element of healthful living, and so it's sort of this whole new idea of being in something really fun and playing and and learning skills, but also it doesn't have to fall down this rabbit hole of drugs, alcohol, and we're shifting. And that's, I haven't actually heard that from anyone until you kind of clarified it, Frank, like to say, well, yeah, yeah, was in Sum 41. I mean, you're a world traveler. You're from, you're touring, you're a drummer, like the coolest thing ever. Of course you think like of Tommy Lee or somebody like like the most strung out person, but and then you think, wow, no, you can be helpful and you can learn from Laird and like all these, cold plunge and healthful eating and supplementation and like it's fabulous. Like
It
you're
is.
doing it.
I love it. And like I always try to like, how do I up next year's workshop? Or if I've been to this market, 2 years early? How do we make it bigger? So when I was in the Sacramento area for my workshop in top of January, it was cold. The cold plunge company is from that area.
Oh,
They
that's
came out
hilarious.
with a giant party plunge. If the kids,
Ha!
parents, teachers wanted to get in, and we literally, any kid or parent or teacher that got in, we gifted them one of the like pop-up ones that I take on tour to just start their journey. And it was the second one of the teachers jumped in, all of a sudden. So I went in after I performed with a bunch of the kids, and it was so cool. Like wellness at my events, we're doing cold plunging. I literally when I was writing the book, I had this vision of like how epic would it be to play an NFL game with the School of Rock kids? And it happened in December. Like it was something I put out to the universe. We wound up opening a New York Giants football game, me and the local all-star kids, in the snow, like the whole experience. And that's like what it's all about. Like they're included. Like I have a bunch of, book tour events this year. While I'm on tour, I'll pop in, because I'm already out in certain markets. But I'm doing something in Vegas coming up soon with all the local kids there at this amazing punk rock museum. The kids are going to join me for that. And it's just like including these kids in cool situations and places that are A, inspiring to be at, B, this great performance that we can do, and then just this great conversation. Um, and it's so fun. Like, there's a whole chapter in the book about, School of Rock and the work we're doing. The president, she's a female, she's incredible. She's interviewed in the book. We've got my wife, my mother, my sister, like, it's all over the place throughout my life and journey of all these different topics. It's really, really special to,
That's great, Frank.
it's out and
Mhm.
we have it. And like obviously, I would love one day to come talk at your organization. I know that you guys are, working on, is it you're still building it, right?
Yeah, yeah, but we're also looking at we got some other really cool stuff going on, and it's more about getting out there to some existing places and helping them find um, really really good dignity focused standards that they can implement in training, things like that. So it's exciting. But yeah, you can come and talk at anything you want, anytime you want to.
Yeah. And the continuum
Literally,
of learning, right, is phenomenal.
right?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
never stops.
Be
yeah.
great. I did on the final tour last year, I did workshops in Vancouver and Toronto. And that was my first time doing Canadian workshops, and it was awesome. It was so fun. And like I didn't even know at the time, but the one in Toronto was at a place that some recorded their first recordings at. It's still around to this day. We did it there. That was full circle and amazing. And
So
then
cool.
in Vancouver, it was one of the like VFW hall type places that some played on one of their first tours, and it's still there.
That's
So
wild.
even though I wasn't part of those things on the final tour, I was able to check
You're in it,
those places,
Yeah. There you
which
go.
was
Full
really
circle,
cool.
man.
Yeah, it was, and those kids were on fire. They were so excited, and that was a really special way to, include Canada on the final tour and do something there while I was over there. And I actually had my family was there, my wife and kids, my mom, my sister were at the shows, which were cool because some of the kids were asking some questions, and I literally was like, "My mom's here, like I need her to fact check this stuff."
That's awesome.
Just have that with the kids and have that kind of special, conversation.
It's it's all in the action, man. Like it's all in, but
right?
they watch people watch you. But the younger they are, the more they watch. And that's
And
you're
every
setting an
single one of
example.
those, yeah, every single one of those kids too is going to be telling the story of those things their whole life.
Well, that's right.
It's
That's
really
what it's
cool.
about. That's what it's about, like making a dent and hopefully something clicks and sends them on their way.
Yeah.
And we've had so many of those reoccurring. That's why it was just like, okay, I need to be doing these. And then it's like, okay, how do I get this out, even more accessible? So that's why it was like, let's make an audio book, a digital book, an actual physical book that we can just,
It's
share
awesome.
these messages and
Amazing.
these stories and like I said, hopefully inspire, motivate and save, you know, kids, adults, whoever is
Exactly.
looking.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you so much. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
the time.
Seriously.
Awesome.
Great to talk.